Okay, so in 5 days, you heard that right. 5 days, we're gonna be getting the Dimension Slash Yami and the Ceremony Luck. They are both ceremony units, okay? They're just, I think it's better to refer to this guy as Dimension Slash because that is his ultimate. So this Yami, we have big expectations for him, and he is the first DPS since first attack DPS that's good since season 1 Asta. Since then, we have gotten a couple, mainly two, two from that time. Three, actually, technically three, but since season 1, counting Raya also, we've gotten two, Kiato and Jack. They were both not very meta changing. Kiato had a bit of a touch, but not hype, not really cool, right? Animations kind of sucked. His intro, by the way, looks way worse than Kohono's, who released with him, but I'm just dissing him, right? But anyway, this is the first attack unit we've had in 4 seasons, attack DPS, right? So this is a very important unit because of the fact that we need more attack DPSs. Okay, we need. So them releasing one is good. So this video is going to be basically just going over the updated kits because it's been updated, right? Big parts updated. And we're going to be talking about how we could use them. I didn't really mention this in other videos, but I kind of want to give good ideas of how he's going to be used. It is still subject to be updated, right? But for now, it seems that they are kind of like really working towards making Yami a lot better because it's the second time that they updated Yami. But I don't know. I guess she deleted it. She probably deleted the old kit, I guess, because of, oh, no, it's here. So like she already updated it once before, but now she updated it again. So we're gonna go to Luck afterwards, but I really want to focus in mainly on Yami in this video. So to start off, if I remember correctly, Yami is a green attacker and Luck is a blue attacker, which color-wise does make a lot of sense. But let's just look at his kit. So starting off, skill 1, single target, deals X% of attack as extra attack. Okay, so you're just doing an extra attack off the bat. And then upon using the skill 1, the amount of instances of extra attacks increases probably max 3 or 4 times. If it's like 1 or 2, then it's probably going to be better because of another part of his kit, but let's talk about that later. So you're going to be doing extra attacks an extra amount of times depending on how many times you use the skill 1. And then you also have just a built-in extra attack into the skill 1. So this skill 1 might be doing as much damage as the alt if you use it right, or like at max dupes or max instances. And there's also going to be where you reduce HP recovery received when an enemy is afflicted with bleed and you attack them. I mean, that's fine. I think it could have been anything else. Maybe increased damage would have been probably a lot better. But, I mean, fair enough. Now, this is the big change to his kit that is going to help him a lot. Previously, on his skill 2, he got bleed through his skill page. So when he had his skill page, it then allowed it to be bleed. But now they changed it up a bit. So first of all, this is probably one of the single, like, just best skills in the game. Removing all counterattacks on an enemy because it's an AoE skill. Applying bleed if there isn't a bleed, and then also stunning if they have a bleed. This is stupid. Stupid, right? When you really consider it, getting AoE stun with guaranteed bleed, plus also removing counterattack is very good. So this AoE stun especially is going to be very dominant. Now, the problem is that it will take 2 turns for you to get it, or 2 skill 2s to get. So you will definitely want to be able to reduce his skill 2 cooldown, so that talent's going to be very strong on him. But I feel like he's going to work very well with, for example, other units that are going to be able to apply bleed, which isn't many, right? Just looking at it myself, I'm seeing Witch Queen and then Red Yami are the 2 AoE bleed applicators, which is a bit worrisome. And it's Red Yami, so you can't use 2 of the same unit, right? So to me, this is telling me that we're going to get more bleed units in the future. Now, for some reason, yeah, Witch Queen won't be horrible to use with Yami, but, it's going to suck a bit. Especially if Yami has high speed. Witch Queen's speed is going to be lower than his, maybe, because she's at 104, which would definitely make it so that, obviously, she attacks after, but you want her to put the bleed first. So he's really not going to be centered around this AoE stun until there's another bleed unit that is very good to use. So yeah, it's good, and it's going to be usable, but only later on into the fight, which at that point, Radis might have his barrier up, have stun block, so there's many different ways that this could go, but I think that in general, this gives him a lot of value getting the guaranteed stun. Now his ult gives defense pen, and then gives himself a barrier depending on his attack, which why this is one of the strongest things is similar to Noelle. So obviously she's able to give herself a buff of, well, Noelle, Mimosa, Rada specifically. They're able to buff their magic attack, which means their respective skills being, well, like the healing and then the barriers for Noelle and Radis are stronger because you're able to buff them, right? So Yami being able to give himself a barrier depending on his attack is very strong, especially when considering that William gives an 84% attack buff. So this barrier might sometimes be 200-300k if we're being honest. And then you remove all instances of DOT, which is just super strong in this burn meta. But the thing is, burn is more on attack that you see it, because it's a very strong attack team, but not as strong defense because Magna is single target. And single targets are not always the best on defense. So this is going to be good for defense, right? Especially with the giving himself his own barrier. And what they did is that you get increased damage dealt when the skill 1 has the max number of extra attacks, which means not only will the ult be supercharged if the skill 1 has max charges, but the skill 1's also going to do insane amounts of extra attacks. So I'd say that this is going to be a very fun unit to play with. Very fun unit, right? Then we've also got what's it called? He gets increased damage when he's attacking a defender, and since he's green, it kind of makes sense, because why it does is, first of all, the two main defenders you see are not Radis, Mars and Asta, right? Two actual tanks that are not going to take much damage. Radis and Asta, Mars and Asta. Mars is type advantage, so he's going to do insane amounts of damage now with the extra damage to Mars. And Asta is type disadvantage, which is why you want to get this, so that he's going to do more damage to that person, right? So as long as he has good attack stats, which is my hopes, then this is going to be he's going to cook. Now, his do passive, if there are 8 SPs at the start of a turn, he gets a barrier. Now, this is going to be making it so that he's going to be insanely good with Season 6 Charlotte to kind of give him the 8 SPs a lot more. And sometimes you're going to not want to use the ult just because you want to get the barrier for the turn afterwards too. Now, if there's 4 or fewer SPs, you get reduced damage taken, which kind of makes up either you get the barrier or you have reduced damage taken, right? So if this is like 20-30%, this is going to be really crazy. Now, another thing to consider is that why it's sometimes fine to use the ultimate is because the ultimate itself has a barrier. So the turn after, you'll still be safe. You're going to get technically a double barrier when you use the ult. Think of it. You get the barrier from here, and you get the barrier when he's at 8 SP. So that's going to be crazy. Now, his combo is removing a counterattack, which isn't going to be that good because of the fact his AoE removes it on skill 2. And now, his new Grimoire skill, which used to be the bleed on the skill 2, is now that he gets a speed increase, which is crazy. This makes the skill 2 insane. You remove counterattack, you bleed, and if you already have bleed, you stun and you increase your speed. Bro, like, come on. This speed increase, if it's 55, GG. Like, GG. So they really did cook. And what's even crazier is that, well, the Grimoire passive is not that good, but I'd say the passive part is good enough to warrant using it. When you use the skill 1, there's a chance to attack after granting it X% increased damage dealt. So that skill 1 damage is going to be cooking, bro, because all the extra attacks, it might even be stronger than the all-time max extra attacks. So we're going to have to see. But Yami is looking very good on a full green team, right? We needed a green DPS. The only other good one really at the moment is Fauna. So getting another one is great, and he works super good with Charlotte. So on a full green team, bro, the amount of barriers you're going to get, what, Radis barrier, Charlotte barrier, Yami barrier, this team is going to be cooking, right? So Yami, I think, is very good for the meta, and they did a magnificent job. Just overall, really good job. And the changes of getting the bleed here is nice. Plus, also the reduced damage taken. So yeah, no, especially this. I think this is going to work very well on a full green team because of the fact that you're not really going to have many ways to really buff your speed, and this is going to be one of the ways. And why I like him so much is that no matter what, you could use him in so many different ways. Start off with the skill 2 to build for the stun, start off with the skill 1 to build for the extra attacks and then get more damage on the ult afterwards, or start with the ult to get a double barrier right away, right? There's so many good ways that you could run him, and I think that's really just good for this type of game because of the fact that I think units could get stale very quickly. So I'd say this is just a very important type of thing for them to have. Now, if we scroll up, I want to quickly go over Luck. I don't want to take too much time because we've already talked about him, but I just want to talk about why he's also going to be good. And it's mainly his presence in the meta with, what's it called? Season 4/Season 3, I guess now. Academy Charlotte, or Clover Academy Charlotte, where it's basically a skill 2. So obviously skill 1 is very strong because he's removing a barrier, and it's just, you could use this every turn, so that's very strong, right? Now, why this is also good is because if you're using luck on defense and you're fighting a green team, right? Green teams have a lot of barriers now. Charlotte, right? Rhodes, Yami too now. Okay, so being able to remove the barrier is gonna give you a better chance if this is a defense team and you're like the attacker team that has green to be more annoying with this. Now skill 2, why it's super good is because he's blue, okay, and a full blue team Charlotte is super strong. And then not even besides that, Charlotte increases has a AoE counterattack, and at max dupe, that Charlotte, her counterattack is 2 turns. So then this increased counterattack is gonna make that 2-turn counterattack be 3 turns. Or maybe 4 if this is extending by 2 turns, which would be crazy. So this is good. And you could make use of this without Charlotte. But with Charlotte, being able to increase counterattack for another turn is great. And especially if, I don't know how it works, but if you are able to remove barriers on the counterattack, then GG. But I don't think so. So we'll have to see. We'll see. Then the ult doing extra damage per counterattack is going to be pretty decent. I think overall it's mainly this that's going to be good for him. Besides that, he does get a lot of buffs for counterattack, reduce damage taken, and then he does kind of work a bit off of electrocute, but not too much. And then if counterattack's present, there's a chance to get an all attack increase. So I think overall he's going to be pretty mediocre besides being able to make counterattacks annoying. Now, the only thing is the counterattacks on the blue team are not that crazy. You know, there's not exactly many units that you really care if they counterattack on a full blue team. It's mainly just that it will be more toxic, but it's not going to be that insane overall. It's just very good, right? I'd say this is a very good thing, but it's just on a full blue team, it won't work out that well, okay? Because the main counterattacks that are good are AoE counterattacks, and the only really DPS you're using on a full blue team is Julius. So we'll have to see how exactly he works. But this could get very toxic if you're not using it on a full blue team, maybe with Noel, right? So I'd say that he does have chances to be good with the Season 4 Academy Charlotte. But overall, he's not going to be as good as Yami. This Yami, AoE stun, giving himself a bunch of barriers. If his speed is very high, then we're in for business. Now, my hopes is that Luck and Yami start more of a power creep, okay? So what I mean by this, let me pull Pride one up. There's been a power creep that's been happening in terms of damage that the units have been doing. Okay, so if we look at it, not Magna, why did I pull Magna up? The Black Asta and Green Fauna, especially these two, and also Veto, have had an increase in the damage that their ults are doing. This being, what, 190%? No, yeah, no, 210%. And then this being 300%, right, at max. If we look at it, right, an AoE before, just comparing level 1, this was 90, and this is literally almost, it's 150. But then also, she's increasing by 15 instead of 12 like Noel. And then for Asta, right, a single target ult. The highest ult in the game before was this. Okay, 165. And now it's 200, and it's increasing by 25% instead of 20%. Which is like a power creep of what, 35? 55%. Which is also just insane. Then you got to consider Red Veto 2, which I think I'm going to pull up on the 4. No, I can't. But Red Veto 2, I can't open the game now because I have it running. I have it running runs. But Red Veto 2, let me try to find it. You could see that here. Veto's ultimate was severely increased, starting off at 225%. So we've three cases, right, in the past since season 6, mid-season 6, that the damage amounts have started to increase. So I'd say it's very important that they start to make this more of a mainstream thing, so that people like continue summoning. Because if not, obviously there's still so many good units, so you don't need to. So yeah, but this Yami is gonna be a big seller. Like man, let's just look at this. Like, come on. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. So he's going to sell very well. Very excited for him. And I hope he has great stats, so he could be number like 1, number 2, number 3 in the game. It's going to be very good.